buttercup, you're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
All right, so you guys want to know more about Caitlin Clark and not just, her skills on the court, but what she's like off the court. So we dove into some recent interviews, and one thing that really jumped out was that she's a huge Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah, it's interesting how we tend to focus on athletes' stats and their achievements.
Yeah.
But it's these little glimpses into their personal lives that really reveal a whole other dimension.
Absolutely. It definitely humanizes them in a way that box scores just can't. And speaking of humanizing, we found out that she went to not one, not two, but 3 Eras Tour concerts.
3. Wow. That's a dedication. It really makes you wonder, what is it about Taylor Swift that resonates so deeply with someone like Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, exactly. It's not just casual fandom. It's full-on Swiftie commitment. On the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers, she talked about taking her mom to one of the Indianapolis shows. Apparently her mom had been begging to go, and Caitlin turned her into a full-fledged Swiftie in the process.
That's awesome. That really speaks volumes about their relationship, don't you think? It's more than just a mother-daughter outing. It's a shared experience that creates a lasting bond.
For sure. And you could tell that the Kelsey brothers were loving the story too. There's a certain energy that comes from sharing a passion, even if it's for something as simple as a pop concert.
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to dismiss this as just a fun anecdote, but think about the level of commitment it takes to attend 3 separate concerts. That same drive and dedication likely translates to her success on the court.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier wanting to understand what drives her. Maybe this is a clue. 2 of her cousins were at the Indianapolis show, and she even caught another one in Minnesota with her college friends. So it's clearly important to her to share those experiences with the people she cares about.
And don't forget the detail about her listening from her balcony when she couldn't attend one of the Indianapolis shows. She didn't want to miss a single beat.
Yeah, she described the whole experience as electric, saying there's no way anyone could have a bad time at one of those shows. But it wasn't just about the spectacle, it was about sharing it with her people.
Which speaks to another aspect of her personality, the importance of connection and community. It's not just about individual achievement for her, it's about building relationships and sharing moments that matter.
Exactly. Like you said earlier, it humanizes her, makes her relatable. Who hasn't wanted to blast their favorite music and share that joy with their friends and family?
Yeah, exactly. It's a reminder that even elite athletes, people who seem larger than life, are still driven by the same basic human desires for connection, joy, and shared experiences.
I think that's a great point to move on from. So we've established that Caitlin Clark is a bona fide Swiftie. But what else can we glean from these interviews? We're trying to get a sense of what makes her tick right.
Absolutely. And one thing that really struck me was her perspective on family. It's clearly a cornerstone of her life.
Yeah, she talked about how much she values spending time with her family, especially her mom. Taking her to the Eras Tour wasn't just some random act of kindness. It kind of shows a deeper pattern.
Right. She mentioned that they do a lot of things together.
Yeah.
Which I think suggests a genuine closeness and shared interests. It's clear that family isn't just some abstract concept for her. It's a lived experience that shapes her values and priorities.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It provides a glimpse into her personality too, don't you think? It suggests someone who is down-to-earth authentic, not afraid to let loose and have fun with the people she loves.
Totally. It challenges that stereotype of the hyper-focused, almost robotic athlete. Caitlin's story reminds us that it's possible to be both fiercely competitive and deeply connected to loved ones. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah, that's a good reminder for all of us, really. That balance is key no matter what your passion is. You need that support system, that sense of belonging to keep you grounded.
Exactly. And speaking of passions, Caitlin's love for basketball is undeniable. But what really intrigued me was her perspective on success. It's not just about winning for her, is it?
No, it seems like she has a much more nuanced view. She talked about the importance of continuous learning and growth, even when you're already at the top of your game.
Right. It's that hunger for improvement, that refusal to become complacent. That's what truly sets her apart. It's a mindset that transcends basketball. And you can apply it to any field, really.
Yeah, she seems to have this intrinsic drive to push her own boundaries, to constantly evolve as a player and as a person, and that probably plays a huge role in her dominance on the court.
Yeah. It's the mark of a true champion, wouldn't you say? That willingness to embrace challenges, to never settle for just good enough.
Yeah, and she also seems to have a pretty good head on her shoulders. She's aware of the platform she has and the responsibility that comes with it.
That's an important point. She understands that she's a role model for young athletes, especially young girls, and she's using that platform to advocate for things she believes in, like gender equality in sports.
Which is incredibly admirable. It shows a depth of character that goes beyond basketball. She's not just talented. She's using her voice to make a difference in the world.
Yeah, it's inspiring, isn't it? It reminds us that we all have the power to create positive change, regardless of our age or profession. That our actions, no matter how small, can have a ripple effect.
Okay, so to recap, we're seeing a much more well-rounded picture of Caitlin Clark emerging here. She's not just a basketball phenom, she's a Taylor Swift enthusiast, a devoted daughter and friend, an advocate for social justice.
It's a compelling portrait of a young woman who's both exceptionally talented and grounded in her values. Someone who's using her platform to inspire and uplift others.
It's like we're peeling back the layers, moving beyond the headlines and highlight reels to see the real person underneath. But where do we go from here? What does it all mean?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's one that each listener has to answer for themselves. But if I may offer a thought.
Please do. We're all ears.
Caitlin's story challenges us to think beyond the stereotypes and preconceived notions we often hold about athletes, celebrities, even people we think we know. It encourages us to see them, and indeed all individuals, as complex human beings, with passions, vulnerabilities, and aspirations that extend far beyond any single label or achievement.
It's a reminder that there's always more than meets the eye, right? We all have our own unique stories to tell, our own hidden depths waiting to be discovered.
Precisely. And those stories are often far more interesting and nuanced than what we see on the surface. They remind us of the richness and complexity of the human experience.
It makes you wonder, what other hidden passions do our idols have? What drives them when the cameras are off and the crowds have gone home? What can we learn from their journeys, both the triumphs and the struggles?
And perhaps even more importantly, how can their stories inspire us to embrace our own complexities, to pursue our passions with the same level of dedication and enthusiasm, to live our lives with more intention, purpose, and authenticity?
That's a powerful thought, isn't it? It's not just about admiring Caitlin Clark for her basketball skills or her taste in music. It's about recognizing the human being behind those accomplishments and letting her story spark something within ourselves.
Exactly. It's about using her journey as a catalyst for self-reflection and growth. To ask ourselves, what are we truly passionate about? What impact do we want to make on the world? And how can we use our unique talents and experiences to make a difference?
You've given us a lot to think about. So before we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Caitlin Clark, let's take a moment to let all of this sink in. Okay, so we're back and ready to kind of wrap things up. You know, it's been fascinating to explore these different facets of Caitlin Clark. We've seen the basketball star, the Swiftie, the loving daughter and friend, the advocate for change. It's like we've assembled a much more complete picture of who she is as a person.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these deep dives. We get to move beyond the surface level, beyond the labels and the headlines, and really see the multidimensional human being underneath.
It's so easy to put people, especially public figures, into these neat little boxes. But Caitlin Clark reminds us that real life is messy and complicated, full of contradictions, and that's okay.
Exactly. It's those contradictions, those unexpected passions and quirks that make us interesting. That's what makes us human. And you know, there's a really powerful message there, especially for young people who are constantly bombarded with this pressure to conform, to fit in, to be a certain way.
Yeah, it's like she's saying, be yourself. Embrace all the things that make you you. And don't be afraid to let your freak flag fly, whether that's a love for Taylor Swift or a passion for social justice, or even something totally unexpected.
Absolutely. And that's such an important message in a world that so often tries to flatten us, to reduce us to our simplest forms. Caitlin Clark is this reminder that we're all infinitely complex and capable of holding these seemingly contradictory passions and interests.
So to come back to what you asked earlier, what does it all mean? I think Caitlin Clark's story is a reminder that there's always more than meets the eye, that the people we admire, the people who inspire us, are just as human as we are.
And that their stories, their journeys, can offer valuable insights and inspiration for our own lives. If Caitlin Clark can be a basketball superstar and a Taylor Swift superfan, then maybe we can allow ourselves to embrace the fullness of who we are too.
So to add to your original question about Caitlin Clark, we're left with this. What are your hidden passions? What brings you joy? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
Yeah, those are great questions to ponder. And who knows, maybe by exploring those questions, you'll discover something new about yourself, something unexpected, something that lights you up from the inside out.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on Caitlin Clark, but also on yourself, and the power of embracing your own passions and complexities. Thanks for joining us.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.